going on, everybody? Welcome into Leading Off, the Fantasy Pros Baseball Podcast. We are presented by Bet365. If you bet $5, you get 150 in bonus bets when you use that promo code Leading Off, and that's only with our friends over at Bet365. It is the Shohei Otani show, Bubba. It's Joe Orico and Casey Bubba joining you here again, as usual. And I honestly put in the show sheet together this morning. I thought, should I just put one name on the show sheet and we can just talk about Otani? We could probably fill a half an hour pretty easily going over what he did yesterday. We're going to talk about him. We're going to talk about some other things as well. But before we do get going, put your questions in the chat. We'll probably get to a couple if you got any waiver wire, streaming, even 2025 questions. We should have a little bit of time later on in the show. But we are going to start where we have to start today, Bubba, with one of the greatest games. It's not even hyperbolic to say it's one of the greatest games in baseball history that Shohei Otani put on yesterday. And also considering when it came in the season, it won anybody who had him in a head-to-head league, probably won their championship. He went 6 for 6, 3 homers, 4 runs, 10 ribbies, and 2 stolen bases to clinch his 50-50 season, putting him into the history books. One-upped himself and got to 51-51 yesterday. I don't even really have words to describe this anymore. This is just ridiculous, Bubba.
It is. The only words that come to my mind are unicorn, special, best ever, like stuff like that. It's the moonshot for number 49, I believe, to right field. Then he hits the Oppo Taco for 50, and then he just happens to hit another one for 51. It was just ridiculous what took place with Shohei. Definitely the best we've ever seen in our ages, and we'll see where it goes from there.
It's unbelievable. Like, you see him. I mean, I think most of us probably have Jeff Passan notifications on, or we at least see his tweets very regularly. And it's like, okay, he got 49, 20 minutes later, 50, 20 minutes later, 50. It's like, I thought Twitter was broken for a second. Is this spamming me notifications or something like that? But no, this is unbelievable. I know that Otani is going to be talked about. If you listen to any shows today, he is going to be the lead point, but he should be. Like, this is just one of the best seasons I think we've ever seen in history. And I saw a couple people talking, Bubba. Each of the last 3 seasons, we've seen a really historic accomplishment. Judge hitting 62, Acuna's 40-70, and now the 50-50. In your eyes, is Otani's 50-50 the most impressive of the 3?
I'd say probably. Just because I'm a Bonds guy. I remember seeing what he did. I remember Canseco doing his thing and A-Rod doing his and all these other guys. 50-50 is ridiculous because you usually don't see power speed like this. Not to mention he's rehabbing Tommy John surgery while doing this, just to put the icing on the cake through all of this. I think 50-50 is, there's always going to be great records. There's always going to be arguments that are valid for multiple things. But what Shohei Otani's doing right now, as someone that's played baseball, it's not earthly. Let's put it that way.
It's absolutely ridiculous. I think people were saying that the season-long stolen base prop was set at like 17.5 or 18.5. He stole 20 last year. I don't think anybody was expecting this. No. And I heard some people say, well, maybe he's going to be a closer next year and have 50 saves and 50 home runs and just keep rewriting the record book.
I think that's very possible if they let him do it. I think it's a smart move, honestly. He needs to be the closer. That's what I've been saying for a couple of years now.
Well, I'd kind of worry, and we have a question in the chat about where we're drafting Shohei as a pitcher only next year, because there are some formats where he's going to be separate on Yahoo and a couple of others. I don't know about just as a pitcher only. I feel like if he does have some kind of injury, that would be the first thing that stops, and they try and keep him on the field. If you're just looking at pitcher only Shohei Otani, Bubba, is that a top 50 player? Is that a top 100 player? Where would you personally want to take him?
Yeah, pitcher only. He's still an SP1. He's still a stud. Yeah. He's a top probably 3 or 4 round pitcher because if he returns to the SP1 of old, that he is a Cy Young caliber arm. There's no denying that. I'm not going to draft him as a pitcher. I want that bat all day, every day. But if you are drafting him as a pitcher, as the question asks, he's a top 10 starting pitcher. I'll say that. And maybe when I break it down more, it'll change. But I'd say he's probably a top 10 starting pitcher because he's already throwing now. You got to assume he's ready by opening day. So should be good to go.
Well, they're talking about him pitching him in the playoffs potentially, even though it might not be likely. But that shows that he's at least within a stone's throw of being ready. And you got 6 more months that should be full ready to go by spring training. he's just, I mean, I could talk all day about him. He's really just ridiculous. You can keep him for a 22nd round pick as just a
You do
pitcher. I
that.
think you're doing that all day.
Yes, do that.
Let's talk about Michael Harris. We're going to talk about a couple members of the Braves who went kind of crazy yesterday. Well, let's start with Mike Harris because he just had a crazy series. 2 home runs yesterday, 4 runs, 4 ribbies. But for the series as a whole, 4 home runs, 6 RBIs. He had 6 hits. He's kind of turned his season around a little bit. I know that he's missed some time with injuries, but Michael Harris, generally speaking, was a disappointment this year. If you look back over the last couple of weeks, though, 16 for his last 59. Doesn't sound crazy hitting 270, but 6 homers, 13 ribbies. He's been pretty solid. Now, when you did that early draft, I think he was still like a 3rd round pick, Bubba, end of 2nd, beginning of 3rd. Do you think Michael Harris still warrants a top 40, 50 overall price at this point?
It's tough. Like we've talked before, the Churios, the Merrills, the Langfords, all those guys. I think he's more the Langford category. I think you got the Merrills and Churios above him. Harris is very good. Harris is more what we want Randy Rosarena to be. Better batting average, but still a 20-20 type guy. Maybe he's got 30-30. Maybe he pulls a Cedric Mullins out of him. So 3rd or 4th round, I think, is very fair for Harris. I've just tempered my expectations after this past year. Everyone anointed him the best batting average asset. He's going to go 25-25, all these things. And, he still could. I'm not going to say he can't, but when Acuna comes back, Albies comes back, does Harris go back to the bottom of the order again? Those are issues for fantasy. So I think he's still very good. I think he is valid of a 3rd and 4th round pick. I'll just be looking for the dip if I can find it.
Yeah, I think each of the last couple of years, we've all kind of thought that he could take that next step forward. I mean, he burst onto the scene as a rookie, went 2020 and just like 400 at bats. He looked like he was going to be the next kind of, not necessarily Acuna, but to your point, like a 30-30 type of guy. He has dealt with some injuries, but he has also fallen short of expectations over the last couple of seasons. So I think that we should get a discount. I hope that we are able to get him, past pick 50 or so, because if he's going in the 4th round, healthy Braves team around him, he could be fantastic. He really could be a great pick there, but I don't want to be paying the premiums after a couple of less than stellar seasons for him. Sticking in Atlanta with his teammate Matt Olson. I took the home run call for Olson on Wednesday. He had a home run Tuesday and Thursday as the way it goes, but 2 home runs yesterday. Over the last month, talk about Harris turning his season around. Olson really has turned his season around, hitting 308 over the last 30 days with 20 runs, 31 ribbies, and 7 home runs. We were talking about Pete Alonso on the show the other day, Bubba. Between the two of them, as of right now, would you rather take Olson or would you rather take Alonso?
I'd still take Olson. Olson's still the guy for me. I like the team context better, and that's not saying much. The Mets are pretty good. Like the Mets are playing well, but I'll take Atlanta, the ballpark. The team's still much better. Get Acuna back next year. Get Riley back. I'll take my chances with Matt Olson. I think both of them are probably getting drafted a little higher than I'd like, at least in the first draft. Obviously, I know I'm saying that with 1 draft in the books, but I would take Olson over Pete Alonso. Big Meat Pete.
I think I would too. Like, I think in terms of the overall profile, it's fairly similar. You're going to get a lot of production in 3 categories, not a lot of stolen bases. The batting average could go up to 270 for either one, but probably closer to 240, 250. But I think I will be on your side there and default towards the better lineup that Olson's going to have around him for sure. Let's move on and talk about Brandon Pfaadt, who has been pretty inconsistent as a whole this season. I've done the game of putting him in my lineup for the bad start, sitting him for the good one. We've kind of done that a little bit. He had a gem against the Brewers yesterday. And I think that, as a side note, the Brewers, now that they've clinched, is a team that you can kind of target here in certain ways. But Brandon Pfaadt, 7 innings of 2-hit, 1-run ball. He did not walk a batter and struck out 12. But when you look below the surface at Brandon Pfaadt's numbers, they're quite a bit better than what you're seeing just in terms of the ERA, which is still at 4.66. All the ERA estimators are into the 3s. He's obviously got that really solid command, just a 5% walk rate. Feels like somebody who could take another step forward. At the Arizona Fall League a couple of years ago, he was kind of the hot topic. He led the minor leagues in strikeouts the year before. Development's been a little bit slower than we thought, but I feel like there's still an ace-level pitcher somewhere in Brandon Pfaadt.
I agree. I was all in on him this year. It was really good for a while. I haven't pitched him much lately because you mentioned the struggles. I think it's the last 6 starts, 29 earned runs in 29 innings pitched. So this gym, let's just say he was on my bench for because I couldn't stomach throwing him out there. But I do think there's a lot to like there. His issues, a lot of this season's been the home run ball. and his consistency with walks. He's got strikeout stuff. When he's on, he has really good games. I think he is just another like little tweak, maybe one pitch away from going to be like the Zach Gallen of their rotation when Gallen moves on at some point. So I think Fod is very, very good.
He's going to be interesting, and those Brewers, you're going to be drinking pretty regularly over the next couple of weeks. Not just because they are the Brewers, but because they are clinched into the playoff spot. So other than Jackson Chourio, you might see some hungover players there in the Brewers side of things. Let's talk Zach Littell, another guy who I really invested in heavily as a waiver pickup earlier in the season. Felt like a fool for a lot of the summer, but he's really turned it on as a September playoff hero. 3 consecutive gems, 3 consecutive W's. But the cherry on top of the cake was yesterday 7 innings of 1 hit ball against the Red Sox, striking out 7. For the season as a whole, it's a 3.56 ERA. He has a 1.24 WHIP. Walk rate less than 5%. I kind of like Zach Littell heading into next year. I don't think he's going to be anybody that gets any kind of hype, and you can kind of take him as a 5th or 6th starting pitcher. Bubba, what's your interest level in Zach Littell next year?
I've always liked him as a deeper option. Like he started the year really, really strong. Then he scuffled a ton of late. So you mentioned the last 3 starts, 0 earned runs over those 3 starts, like 18 innings, 15 Ks. You mentioned the 3 Ws, 76 pitches yesterday. He's been held at a 75 basically since coming off the IL. That's why some starts were only like 5 innings. But the skills he has shown throughout the season have warranted a good fantasy pitcher. It's just he had that speed bump that could get him at a value for you. So I don't mind the idea of targeting him. Let's just hope the Rays devil magic on the elbows takes turn on him next year, because he's kind of been the one that's got away so far this season. But I do agree. I do like the skill set from Zach Littell.
Tough to be a Rays pitcher the last couple of years and not go under the knife, but hoping for the best here for Littell. One more player I want to talk about in the headline section is Anthony Santander. You can easily get them confused these days. He had his 42nd home run of the season, driving in his 97th run, hitting a home run against your Giants yesterday, Bubba, and Ryan Walker, who had been going pretty well, but a bit of a stinker from him yesterday. What is Santander going to get this summer? Where is he going to go? What's your interest level? I mean, we can't really speculate on location necessarily, but is he a 40 home run guy going forward? Are you going to be drafting him as such next year, whether he's in Baltimore or otherwise? Because he is a free agent.
Yeah, I was drafting him as like a 30 to 35 guy this year. I think no matter where he goes next year, he's still a 30 to 35 guy with 40 plus upside. That's not going to change. He's not super old. You'd imagine he signs in a place that would benefit him. Otherwise, that'd be just a cash grab, which, hey, kudos to him too. At the same time, I'm just going to say I was watching that at bat with Santander, and Walker was throwing some filth, but his sweeper was off, and Hunter Pence is in the booth. Every time Walker would throw a high fastball, Santander, bad swings. And sweepers, great foul offs. And Pence flat out said, do not throw your sweeper. Everything needs to be a high fastball. You either walk him or you strike him out. Foul ball, sweeper, bomb. Like, that's just what took place. Pence nailed it, and Walker was due for a scuffle. But to your original question, sorry, I like to go on rabbit holes here. Santander should be a beast next year, and I'm hoping he signs somewhere very, very friendly to take it. Like, go sign with the Giants. He could probably get 20 splash hits a year. That'd be fun. So we'll see where that goes.
Rockies, open up the pocketbook, sign Santander. Let's get a 60 home run season.
Might as well throw the White Sox in the mix there too, and get the best contract since Andrew Benintendi.
Andrew Benintendi, who has outperformed Julio in a lot of ways.
On fire, dude. Like I said, we took the L on that one. Like, what he's done for a month and a half is, I had to double check. Like, here's another one for all the the drug tests they make all these athletes take after big games. Benintendi better be peeing every day he hits a home run. That's all I have to say. Because where did this come from the last couple months?
It was like when Kevin Pillar was the #1 fantasy player for like 3 weeks, and I was like, he's getting the Batista treatment every single day. Because I mean, being a Blue Jays guy, Jose Batista couldn't hit anything until he was like 28. Then he hits 50 home runs. I can imagine every single game he was getting drug tested. Probably a similar thing happening with Benintendi. Who would have thought it? But hey, the White Sox, I think they've won 4 of their last 11 games or something. So for them, that's pretty damn good. We're sticking with Baltimore here for a second off the Santander one. This is a couple days old now, but we didn't talk about it on the show much. Actually, we didn't talk about it at all. Craig Kimbrell was DFA'd by the Orioles. Kind of a surprise move, but maybe not a surprise at the same time. His first half, he had a 2.80 ERA, 53 strikeouts to 16 walks. Since the All-Star break, Bubba, Craig Kimbrell has a 10.59 ERA, a 2.18 WHIP, and 15 walks in 17 innings. Do you think there's a chance that this is just the end of Craig Kimbrell? Is he going to be somebody that gets a contract this offseason? And assuming that, let's just say he is done, is he a Hall of Fame worthy pitcher in your eyes?
Hall of Fame's tough. I think he's been amazing. Like, I wouldn't argue it if he was, but if guys like Billy Wagner aren't in the Hall of Fame, it's hard for me to see a Craig Kimbrell get in the Hall of Fame. The move makes sense just because the Orioles are going to the postseason. Kimbrell's not adding any value to them at all. They need a roster spot. Like, it's all just logistics at this point. Sucks for Kimbrell because it wasn't an amazing first half. It just has gone the way of the dodo. So hopefully he figures it out, hangs it up, or one more trip around the sun, see where it goes. But Hall of Fame's it's tough with the requirements on closers these days.
The bar is so high. There's 5 relievers in the Hall of Fame or something. I think Wagner was pretty close last time, and I think he'll eventually trickle in. But it is a tricky one. Like, Kimbrell was so dominant when he was with the Braves, and throughout the majority of his career has been a pretty dependable arm. But the benchmark for closers tend to be a little bit higher. Let's say you're drafting in November, December. He's unsigned. Are you going to speculate on him as a potential closer for next season?
It'd have to be coming at a really good value, because usually if I'm speculating on a guy I know where he's playing already, not that does he have the role or not. That's not the question. It's Kimbrell legit could retire. Like, that's an option, and now you're really drawing dead. So it's tricky. That's a very, very tricky one. I doubt I would right now.
I think I'm on board with you, unless it's like pick 375 or something, and it's like, okay, I might as well take a chance. Then maybe, but even then, you're kind of maybe wasting a pick. It could get 25 saves out of it. You never know what's going to happen, but it looks like we're kind of on the back nine, if not the final hole here for Craig Kimbrell at this point. Let's talk about some of these questions you guys put into the chat, starting off with one from Matt here. Edwin Useta or Jason Foley rest of the season? I personally would have to say Foley because they're still playing for something. The Rays have kind of thrown in the towel a little bit. Foley's been getting a lot of saves recently, and for the year as a whole has been pretty good. I think I'm on the Foley side here, Bubba. What about you?
Yeah, Foley easy for me. He's getting a lot of saves, like so much that he has to get days off and someone else gets a save right now. You said it's not the everyday guy. Clevenger got the save on Thursday. Like, they're still playing roulette over there in Tampa. So give me Foley.
Yeah, I agree. Zane wants to know, or he wants to think that Pavin Smith is legit. I mean, hell, if you streamed him this week, you gotten some goodness. There was obviously that big game last week where he got the 3 home runs, but he's hitting every single day, it seems. Over the last 2 weeks, he's a top 10 overall fantasy player. Don't really want to put too many eggs in this basket, Bubba, but I feel like if he's still out there right now, he makes a decent ad in the middle of a really good lineup. What are your thoughts on Pavin Smith?
First, I got a bet on him later, so stay tuned. Second, Smith, he's great for this week and next week. A lot of right-handed pitchers coming up for the D-backs to face, so Smith will play every day. He's one of the better potential power sources over the final 10 days or so. So, yeah, I think he's legit enough to finish the season on your team. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, maybe not legit enough that you'd want to look at what he did down the stretch. He's going to be a great value next year. Like, I don't know if I'm there, but yeah, I agree that for the rest of the season, you're playing matchups and you're riding hot hands. And right now there is not many hotter hands than Pavin Smith. Question from Harry about McKenzie Gore. Are you willing to stream him against the Cubs this weekend? Looked a bit better as of late. Cubs are kind of rolling though right now, Bubba. What are your thoughts on this one?
I think I would. This is a really tough one because McKenzie Gore has looked better. Did get blown up a little bit in his recent start. Cubs are heating up. I think you still roll Gore here and hope the improvements are there, but just realize it's a coin flip basically on what you're going to get on this one.
Yeah,
I'd understand sitting him. I'd understand sitting him. I get it.
I'd be more inclined to start him in a slightly deeper league, or if you really needed the volume. If it's just like, I have one ad left, I might as well use it on Gore. I don't know if I would be using the ad for the sake of using it, if that makes sense.
That makes
one more question here. One more question here from Michael regarding one that's happening today. Start Pete Armstrong or Jason Dominguez tonight. Unfortunately, Cubs play at 2 p.m. and Yankees lineup will not be out by then. I think you probably go with PCA. He has been, for the most part, really, really good. Dominguez has been okay, but I mean, he's 6 for 31 for the season as a whole, very small sample size, but he has not been nearly as good as PCA.
Yeah, and PCA is facing Trevor Williams, making his first start after a few months on the IL. So, yes, give me PCA on this one. And I hit his run prop on Wednesday. I went to look at it today. We had it like at 185 on Wednesday. It's like only plus 120 today. So even the books like the Cubs and company. So play PCA.
They're catching up. Stick around for the bets. We went 5 of 6 on Wednesday. We are on fire right now. One more question from Fred Dinger in the chat. Would you guys trust Quintana next week at Atlanta and at Milwaukee? He's been on a run, and boy, has he ever been on a run. Quintana has been a lot better than I would have thought. I feel like I'm probably rolling him out there with the caveat that two-steppers are never a guarantee this time of year, but I think I am rolling him out there outside of really shallow formats. Bubba, what do you think?
I would. Two-steppers are not a guarantee, but it should be with the Mets because they'll be playing for something almost to the end. Milwaukee will be wrapped up for that second start. It'll be pretty nice. Atlanta's the question mark, but he's been good enough. So, yeah, I'd roll Quintana on a two-step.
I would never have thought that I'd be trusting Quintana fantasy playoffs, but here we are. Here we are trusting him. Let's get up to the 3 up and 3 down, starting with Vladimir Guerrero Jr. 2 home runs, went 3 for 4 yesterday. Got up to that 30 home run marker for the third time in 4 years. He's really turned it around after starting off cold, looking bad last year. Completely changed the narrative on his whole career, really. Blake Dunn, who half of you are probably saying, who is Blake Dunn? Went 2 for 3 with a home run and a couple of stolen bases yesterday. So any streaming or DFS players or maybe NL-only players really got rewarded there. And then CJ Abrams, who has been pretty disappointing for the majority of the year outside of a really hot beginning, did you some real good stuff yesterday. 4 for 5 with 2 runs and a couple of stolen bases. Bubba, any thoughts on that trio, on Guerrero, on Dunn, or on CJ Abrams?
Yeah, Vladito, it's good to see him get to 30 because, forever there was, can he hit the ball in the air and get, the home runs? I did a show with Ben Tidd recently looking at WRC Plus since the All-Star break. Vladito's second behind Judge. I believe it was second in the second half of the season. That's how good he's been. So to see him kind of get his is awesome. I'd actually, to your question earlier about Alonso and Olson, I take Vlad over both of them going into the draft. Yeah. So, but I think it's really good to see him get to 30 once again.
I think Vlad could potentially get back into the first round, depending on the league. Maybe he goes at like 14, 15, 17, like that type of range, I think is where we're probably going to see him. But yeah, as a Blue Jay fan, it's been the one of the very few bright spots. Him and Bowden Francis, maybe the only things we can look back on with any degree of happiness for 2024. Let's go to the 3 down. Logan O'Hoppe with a golden sombrero yesterday. Not what you want to see. Taiwan Walker, horrendous stuff as usual for him. 3 1/3, 8 earned runs, 6 hits, 3 walks, and 4 homers. Just brutal. And then Edward Cabrera was the starting pitcher for that Miami team. They gave up 20 earned runs yesterday, so you can imagine what his day looked like. 2 1/3, 7 earned runs, 4 hits, and 5 walks. Bubba, any thoughts on that trio of Logan O'Hoppe, Taiwan Walker, or Edward Cabrera?
The Walker one just makes me laugh because it was supposed to be Colby Allard, and then the Phillies said, hey, we love what Walker's been doing out of the bullpen, so let's throw him back in the starting rotation. It's just like, you know what? Maybe leave him in the bullpen. So, yeah, Walker, that's a contract that the Phillies would love to get back in a big way.
Oh, brutal. Remember when they took out Spencer Turnbull from the rotation earlier this year for Walker? Just brutal stuff. Let's go and talk about some injuries. Bichette did the Abe Simpson meme of walking in and walking right back out the door here. Just can't catch a break. He comes back. We talked about him on Wednesday, and I was saying, like, look, he's probably going to go 20 for his next 30 or something down the stretch and then kill any draft day discounts we're going to get next year. But, I mean, we're looking at an 81-game sample size where he really disappointed this season. His year is done. Fractured a finger fielding a grounder on Wednesday. Just horrendous luck. But what does that mean for next season now? Does that mean that we are truly getting the Bichette past pick 100 type of discount, Bubba?
I think so. And I'm already back in if that's the case. So it's like we've talked about how bad shortstop gets in drafts and all that kind of stuff. If you're getting Bichette, now we're talking like round 9, 10, something like that. That's looking pretty good, all things considered.
Late batting average, a guy who could potentially win a batting title next year. And that's not even like, oh, he's a homer, he's a Blue Jay guy. Like, he could win a batting title. He's like a 290 hitter over his career at this point. I'm pretty excited to get a discount on him. Obviously, you feel for the guy. Worked his way back after being out 2.5 months and gets 1 game back in the lineup. It's brutal stuff, but we'll have to reset next year and hope for a bounce back from Bo. Same thing can be said about Tyler Glasnow, transferred to the 60-day IL. His season is over. He will not pitch in the postseason. What does that mean, though, Bubba, for next year with Glasnow? Because for 2 consecutive seasons now, he has surpassed his career high in innings pitched. When he's out there, he's obviously fantastic. Are you going to be willing to trust him as your SP1 next year, though, assuming that he's going where he's probably going to go in the 2nd, maybe 3rd round? Is that something you're going to be interested in?
He will not be on my teams until at least a March draft when I've seen him pitching in Florida or Arizona for the Dodgers. This is a guy that's got histories of Tommy Johns. He's flat out said he's throwing and he doesn't care if he has Tommy Johns. That's why he throws the way he throws, because he's all, I have to throw that way to get paid. He got paid. The fact he had a setback that they shut him down, not even trying for the postseason. We've seen that Dodgers rotation. They need all the help they can get right now. I am not touching Tyler Glass now until I see him actually, quote unquote, healthy, throwing regularly on a mound.
I feel like the price, someone's going to say, look, he threw 130 something innings. Next year, it's going to be 150.
That makes it almost worse to me. It's almost worse, the fact he took the jump. That scares me.
I agree, because that means the price, which was already last year, like a third rounder a lot of the time, if not even pushing into the second in some cases. I think that he is going to be too expensive. It's unfortunate because I love Glass now. I had him on one team. I drafted him in Tout Wars, which was my last draft. I was like, I want one Glass now share. Worked out for the most part, but that price is going to be just as expensive or even more expensive. I'm going to have to tap out at that point. Kevin Gausman left his start after looking really solid through 5 innings with some back tightness. So this is, I would imagine his season is done. I don't know why Toronto would take any chances for that last start where they're playing for nothing at this point. I would imagine his season is probably over. Aussie Albies is going to be coming back to the Braves lineup tonight in Miami. Bubba, you're seeing Aussie Albies on any kind of waiver wire, shallow, deep, anything in between. Are you picking him up and starting him?
Only if you're desperate for the position. Like I'm going to plug him in DCs where I've had him benched and whatnot. And when we're talking Aussie Albies, he can only hit right-handed right now. They're not even hitting him lefty because of his wrist. So he's not even 100% yet. So I'm a little cautious on that one.
He's going to hit right-handed against right-handed pitching?
Yeah, he's only hitting right-handed. That's how they got him back soon enough. He can't hit left-handed still because of his wrist. So that doesn't make me feel warm and fuzzy, all things considered.
I guess they
be wrong.
see.
Maybe he goes and mashes. Who knows? But I'm like, I hear this information and it doesn't make me too excited.
Without having his splits in front of me, I think he's better as a right-handed hitter, but that still makes me nervous.
He's better. Oh, yeah, 100%. I'm with you. He's got better power from the right side, but I don't think we've ever seen him hit right-handed versus righty, so who knows if that's, like, consistent.
That's a good point. Man, I don't know how I feel about that. Now, like, I guess because they're in the hunt and they're thinking, look, we need reinforcements. If he's even at 80%, he's playing. That's probably what they're thinking, but you're taking a bit of a chance on your young. I mean, I guess he's not the face of the franchise or whatever, but he's one of the faces of the team. Could be taking a chance there, but I feel like if I have Aussie Albies on a team and he's healthy now, I'm putting him in my lineup. But unless I have just an incredible second baseman or something, like he's going in there for the most part. But yeah, don't feel great about it at this point. Also, don't really feel great about Francisco Lindor, who has missed the entire championship week. He's expected to return this weekend, but we don't have 100% clarity on that. Any thoughts on Lindor, Bubba? If he's healthy, he's going into your lineup, but like, are you picking up another shortstop? Are you picking up Acuna maybe or somebody to fill in for him there? How are you dealing with it where you have Lindor?
I already picked up some Acuna last weekend. Love what we're seeing there. He's been super productive. I don't know how you could put Lindor back out there until he's fully healthy. And then how do you take Angel Acuna out of the lineup as he's been so good? That's a tough one. If you don't want Luis Angel Acuna, I would definitely have a backup plan for shortstop. Let's put it that way, because the Mets are contending, yes, but they also need Lindor to get into the postseason with them. So it's kind of a catch-22 on bringing him back. So I'd be very cautious with Lindor, and I'd have a backup plan. And my backup plan right now is Acuna. But if you can't get him, there are a couple other options out there.
Does he ever look like his brother, eh? Like the motions, yes. the swing, even when he slid into third base yesterday and he did some kind of celebration, it's like if somebody put a Braves jersey and did like an AI swap or something, you'd never know it wasn't Ronald. It's uncanny how much they resemble each other. One more piece of injury news, not what anybody wants to see. Juan Soto will have some imaging done after sliding into a concrete wall in foul territory. I didn't get a new update on this one. I think we haven't seen any results of imaging yet. Bubba, have you seen anything come across while we've been recording?
No, he was having x-rays Friday morning. It's the West Coast. He's probably having them like right now, all things considered. So we probably won't find anything out till around lunchtime out here on the West Coast, I guess. So you got a couple more hours before we know what the status of Soto is. And with the Yankees pretty much already locking up postseason, I'd be surprised if I'm honestly debating sitting him for the weekend, to tell you the truth.
That was my next question. Let's say we don't have a ton of clarity by lineup lock. Let's say even if he's sitting today, that means you're putting him on the bench for the weekend. Because for people who don't know, if you're playing on NFBC lineups, you set them from Friday through Sunday, so you'd have to lock them in today for the whole weekend. Would be a bit of a dicey one, Bubba.
Yeah, it just sucks because they're in Oakland again tonight, Sears tomorrow, Estes on Sunday. All really friendly matchups, all things considered. But if he's out tonight, I have a hunch they just kind of chill with it. So I'd be cautious. But if you probably don't have many better options either. I'll say that much. 2 games of Soto is probably better than what you have on the bench.
Yeah, 2 games of Soto versus 3 games of 90+% of outfielders. You're probably going to take Soto there.
Yeah.
But it's time where we move on to my favorite part of the show, and that is the best bets of the day, presented by our friends over at Bet365. Again, use that promo code leading off. Get yourself some goodies here as we enter into the stretch run of the baseball season. We got football, basketball, hockey, all kinds of things you guys can do with some bet credits over at Bet365. Bubba, where are you looking today on the bets? You kind of alluded towards one of them earlier, but what else are you thinking today?
Going back to the Carlos Santana over 1.5 total bases at plus 125. Dude's been a beast. He faces Richard Fitz of the Boston Red Sox tonight. You could play with that as much as you want, folks, but I like Santana for that. Trevor Story in that same game. David Festa's been struggling to bench, and Story's been awesome. Absolutely great since coming back. Over half a run for Trevor Story is plus 165, so we'll have some fun with that. And then here's my Pavin Smith one. I wanted to play total bases. Juice wasn't worth the squeeze. Wanted to play runs, hits, RBIs. Definitely not worth the squeeze. So we got a little creative here with Colin Ray taking the bump in Milwaukee. I got Pavin Smith over half a run scored at a whopping plus 175. So I'll take my chances in that one. It's a couple big ones. We'll see if they hit, but you only need one to basically break even, just lose a little bit, 2 to have a good day, 3 to really enjoy life. So I'll take Santana, Pavin Smith, and Trevor Story all at plus odds.
The plus money, man, at it again. And we are hot right now, folks. So take a look into tailing some of these. Jacob deGrom is my first one. Going back to that well against Seattle. Again, he gets the best strikeout matchup in baseball again. We're not getting it at plus money, but at 6.5. I know he didn't go terribly deep in his first start back, but I feel like he is going to continue to ramp up a little bit. There is also the thought that maybe the Rangers don't take any chances here because they're not really playing for anything. But 6.5 strikeouts for deGrom could literally be had in 3 innings against a team like Seattle. So this is one that I'm going to take a chance on at minus 110. I'm also playing a little fast and loose with George Kirby, and the under walks is at plus 175. We know that his command is arguably the best in all of baseball. Maybe you could put Zach Eflin up in that category, but it's probably Kirby. He only has 1 walk over each of his last 3 games. The Rangers are kind of a mid-pack team in terms of drawing walks, so I'll take a chance there on under 0.5 walks at that plus 175 number. That is just so juicy. And then I'm going against the grain here. I've seen a lot of people really start to buy into David Peterson as of late. We've talked on this show, Bubba. We've talked on probably a couple shows about how those underlying numbers are a little bit scary. The strikeouts aren't really there. So I in general, don't really want to trust them in a repeat matchup against a team like Philadelphia, who he just dominated against. No question. 7 2/3, 1-run ball. In a repeat outing, though, I don't think it'll be as favorable to him. So I'm taking David Peterson over 2.5 earned runs at plus 110. Guys, those are our favorite bets for today. And Bubba, before we get out of here, let's get your home run call for the day and for the weekend.
For the weekend. And I do laugh because, you look at the leaderboards. If you just took Otani all year, you're top 3, basically.
Yeah.
That's pretty fun stuff. But for me, I wanted to take some Royals props because my buddy Mason Black's taking the bump. I'm being sarcastic just because he's a Giant, and he has not been good. So give me Bobby Witt Jr. Let's have a fun weekend. The guy that took the world by storm is going to be the runner-up in the AL MVP. Let's have some Bobby Witt Jr. fun this weekend.
Hard to go against what Bobby Witt Jr. has done. For me personally, I'm going for Tyler O'Neill, who's facing up against David Festa. They are at Fenway. Look, I love David Festa. I think he's going to be a really good pitcher, but my God, does he give up a lot of home runs and a lot of hard contact. 9% barrel rate, 1.47 homers per 9. Tyler O'Neill at Fenway Park, most of the time is going to be able to get one out, but especially against a rookie in Festa who has dealt with home run problems, that is the way I am going to look tonight. But Bubba, that will do it for our second to last show together of the season, probably. And we're down to just 1 week left of leading off. Any words of advice for the folks as they head into championship weekend?
Good luck, everybody. Remember, it's out of your control. Just set your lineups and enjoy the games. I've had a lot of stressful messages sent my direction. I'm like, nothing you can do about it, boys and girls. So set your lineups, have some fun, and hope for the best.
Absolutely. Don't take any crazy chances. If there's a random, like Patrick Corbin was a popular stream over the last couple of weeks, don't take chances like that. You know, you've made good decisions to get yourself to the championship to this point. Continue to make those good decisions and don't play too fast and loose with your championship caliber teams. But that will do it. On Monday, I believe it will be Bubba and Welsh. Wednesday should be myself and Bubba back again. And then next Friday for the leading off finale, I know Welsh is going to be there. Think Joe Pisapia is going to be there, and then potentially one of us, or maybe even both of us, will hop on. So just 1 week left on the show. If you guys haven't done so already, we'd really appreciate any ratings, reviews, subscriptions, likes, comments, anything you can do to help out the show. Doesn't cost you a thing, just takes a couple seconds, and we'd really appreciate it over here. But guys, have a great weekend. Wishing you all the best of luck in your championships, and we will see you again on Monday. Take care, everybody.